All right, so this is going to be a breakdown of the second formative we took. So this was the formative that we took on Wednesday. All right, and it has to do with Lewis dot and Bohr models. All right, so for the first question, we had sulfur 33. All right, so just a little reminder that 33, that dash in a 33, is your mass number for this equation. So we're looking at an isotope, right, because we're in isotope notation. So 33 is going to be our mass number, and sulfur tells us our element name, which gives us a bunch of information, okay? So if you go on to your periodic table, you find sulfur, okay, you can look and find that the number of protons is equal to 16 due to your, right here, okay? So due to your atomic number, that's how you're going to find your number of protons. Okay, our neutron number was 33 minus 16, so mass number minus the number of protons, which will equal 17, okay? And then our electron amount, okay? So our electron amount, we're pulling it right off the periodic table, okay? So it's going to be our number of protons minus our charge, okay? Since we're pulling it off the periodic table, our charge is going to be 0, all right? There's no charge up here, okay? You can see no charge there. All right, it's an isotope notation, no charge, okay, which means that our number of protons and our number of electrons is going to be the same. All right, so that's just how to start the problem, is to figure out number of protons, neutrons, and electrons, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to draw your Bohr model, all right? So a Bohr model shows the nucleus, all right, and that's where I'm going to put my number of protons and neutrons, which you just found on the last slide, okay? Then I'm going to draw my rings, all right? Looking at that, I know I have 16 electrons to find a home for, okay? So 2 can fit in the first ring, 8 in the second, okay? And then I have 6 more to find a home for, which are going to go in our final outer ring, all right? I have no charge, so I don't have to do any brackets, all right? I show my protons, neutrons, and electrons, okay? And I know that I have the right amount because I calculated it beforehand, okay? So that would be my Bohr model. Then for the Lewis dot, remember Lewis dots are a little bit easier. They're based off the number of valence electrons. So when you find sulfur on the periodic table, you're going to look at its group number. Okay, it's group 16, which means we have 6 valence electrons. Again, no charge, so I don't have to do any brackets around it. All right, so that was our first example. All right, then your next question was magnesium plus 2. Okay, so it's magnesium with a plus 2 charge. All right, so we're going to do the same step as in the first one, where we go onto the periodic table, we look everything, break it down, right? If you notice, this is not an isotope, all right? And I know that because there is no mass number provided, okay? Oops. All right, so then if we look here, I'm going to find my number of protons, my atomic number 12, my number of neutrons, all right? I'm going to have to take the mass number off the periodic table because I'm not an isotope. So 24 minus 12 is going to be 12 as well. Then my number of electrons, okay? So here, okay, and again, I'm using 24 for my mass number because it's not given on the periodic table. So I use the periodic table, okay? So then my number of electrons, again, it's number of protons minus charge. So my number of electrons is going to be 10 in this instance, okay? Because magnesium gave up 2 electrons. 12 minus 2 is 10 electrons. So in my Bohr model, I'm going to go ahead and do what I did before. Draw my nucleus, all right? This time I wrote my numbers on top, all right? So I draw my nucleus here. I write my number of protons and my number of neutrons, okay? Then I draw my outer shells, okay? 2 go in the first, 8 go in the following. Okay, remember I only have 10 electrons. So if I have 2 in the first ring and 8 in the second, I have my total number, okay? However, I have a charge. I have to show on my Bohr model that I have a charge because my charge is given, okay? So here we go when we look at it, and so I'm going to put brackets and a plus 2 charge, all right? Next, we're looking at the Lewis dot structure for this, all right? So if there is no charge, if I was simply taking it off the periodic table, okay, it'd be magnesium with 2 valence electrons because I'm in group 2. Okay, then if we move over, all right, but I'm not with no charge. I do have a charge. So my Lewis dot has to reflect that. All right, so I'm going to draw my magnesium. I lost 2 electrons. I got rid of these 2 electrons, okay, so I don't draw them on my second one, all right? Then I'm going to go ahead and put a bracket around to show my charge, okay? Again, I gave up electrons, so that means that I no longer have them around my magnesium. I still have 10 electrons, but I got rid of that outermost shell of my valence electrons. Okay, last but not least, our final number that we looked at was chlorine. So chlorine, again, I'm finding my protons, neutrons, and electrons. All right, so my number of protons is, my atomic number, which is going to be 17. Neutrons, I'm not given any mass number or number of neutrons, so we are going to take the number off the periodic table. 35 minus 17 is going to be 18. All right, then our number of electrons. Again, we take the number of protons minus the charge, okay? So 17 minus -1 is going to be 17 plus 1. We're going to end up with 18 electrons, okay? So moving forward, again, we're going to draw our Bohr model, very similar to what we've done already. All right, it's exactly the same. I write out my neutrons, my protons, and electrons, which I would strongly recommend if you're struggling with this, because then you know that you have everything in your final Bohr model. Protons in the middle, 17, neutrons in the middle, 18. Draw all my shells, 2 in the first ring, 8 in the second ring, and because I have 18 now, I also have 8 in the third ring, okay? Then I have to draw my brackets to show a charge. Your Bohr model will not be correct if you have a charge and you don't show it, okay? So that's a -1 charge, okay? Then our Lewis dot. So I start by drawing what it would look like if I didn't have a charge. So without a charge, chlorine has 7 valence electrons, okay? But we know that this one has a -1 charge. So -1 means it gained an electron, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that I gained an electron by showing that electron that I gained. So here I now have 8 valence electrons in that shell, all right? And I have to show my charge. And my charge in this case is a -1. All right, so that's breaking down the second formative. If you have any questions, make sure you come in and ask them. If you find an error in grading or anything like that, please let me know.